Alrighty. Hello, everybody.
What's going on?
Today on Join the Discussion, we have Brandon McPhail, longtime friend, longtime opinionated person, willing to get his perspective out there. So it's good to have you on, and knowledgeable too, man. You're very knowledgeable in the area we're about to delve into. So I'm very glad to have you on, brother.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure, man. Anything I can do to spread the message and some hope.
For sure, man. It's a beautiful thing. So first off, um, I just wanna get where you come from, how you grew up, whatever kind of family or whatever situation there you want to delve into and share with us. I just want to get an understanding of who Brandon is, where he comes from, why we're talking to him.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I'm a Maine native. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up in Portland. I graduated from Westbrook High School. Um, I can't sit there and say like I had the best life growing up. Both of my parents were alcoholics, and drug addiction like ran through my entire family. My brothers, my sisters. I've lost a lot of my family because of it. You know, I could say if you want to go into like when I started my addiction, or um,
Well, I want to humanize you, man. I don't want to put you out there as an addict. So let's get into it. Like before your childhood, before we met, when we met, because I mean, it definitely knowing you, growing up with you, interacting with you on a daily basis, like we did. It was not something that I foresaw in you, and you know that I got people close to me that I did not foresee it in them either. So I mean, I'm not saying that it's something that you can pinpoint and call out in somebody and be like they're going to be this and they're going to be that. But at the same time, there was a Brandon before, there's a Brandon during, and there's a Brandon flourishing now. So I want to get the Brandon before because we're definitely going to delve into the Brandon during.
okay, yeah. So, um, yeah, the Brandon before I started like my journey to that down that dark road that I was on. I mean, I always perceived myself as like a happy person. I always got along with like I tried to get along with everyone, but deep down, like um, I had a lot of insecurities and I had a lot of like I don't know. I guess I had a lot of fear, and I never felt like I fit in with anyone. Like until I finally met that group of people that abused drugs and alcohol, whatever it was, um, and that's basically. I mean, once I got that feeling, I knew that's like. I mean, that's who I wanted to be. Um, I mean, it was my scapegoat for a long time, but it became like the source of my pain. You know what I mean? Like so. But yeah, I mean, I was like I said, I was a happy kid. Like I grew up like I mean, I played football in school. Like I was really heavy into art. That with drawing. I mean, I've done tattoo work. I did a lot of BMXing. Like I have like a whole bunch of different passions. Um, but I could never figure out what I actually wanted to do. You know what I mean? Um, until I started getting into the party scene during like junior high and all through high school.
All right, so um, we spent a lot of time together
Hmm.
back in the Westbrook Garden days.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that was more or less what was that? The end of middle school, like 7th and 8th grade, getting
Yeah.
into freshman year. So like those were the good old days. So when did everything start to happen to you? Like what was the scenario that you were in that got you going, got your ball rolling?
All right, so basically, I mean, right when I got out of high school, um, I mean, I never want like I sit here and look at my patterns. Like, I identify myself as a recovering addict, but um, I I excess over excess in like everything I do, whether it's work, um, my appearance, like just a whole bunch of different shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I feel like, um, when I was in high school, I started off with like drinking, and I never drank. Every time I drank, I would black out. Um, that's that's not that's not really like a normal drinker. You know what I mean? Like, um, a normal drinker can have a couple drinks and be okay with life. I was never like that. It was either go hard or go home. Um, that's basically how I lived life for a very really long time, and it definitely destroyed my life. But yeah, like it started with drinking, and then I would say my freshman year, um, I had I had my wisdom teeth out, and they prescribed me to oxycodone, um, and from there, like I don't even know, like I remember doing it, and I loved the feeling. Just the pills gave me, and coming from like, and like it didn't take me long to get a get an addiction problem with it. You know what I mean? Like I ran through my script really quick, um, and I was asking the doctor for more, um, which I mean that's not really normal behavior when you're a freshman in school. You know what I mean? Like
No, I feel you.
my first time ever doing painkillers, I was begging for more, just because I liked the feeling.
Nah, yeah, hey, I had a surgery. I got prescribed Vicodin, but my stepmother had a stranglehold on that, so I was lucky in that aspect. But it's a not the typical, but it's your average story of how most Americans get hooked. The '90s when they started pumping them was really bad. It sucks that it was able to catch the tail end of so many people, and it still does. Percocets and Xanax and all the rappers and the culture around it. But the next thing I really want to delve into is what once you get into it, um, how long did it take you to realize that it was not a escape as much as it was damaging everything around you? When did you have that? Because from personal experience, I understand that some people have that awakening well before they stop. But I just wanted for you to explain where you understood maybe where rock bottom was, but not even rock bottom because you hit rock bottom to come back up, but you realize that you're headed towards rock bottom way before that. So where did you realize that you were headed towards some really high peak with it?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Like, um, like my during like my last time using, I mean, like I'm coming up on like like I'm coming up on 6 months clean again. I did have a relapse when I was. I mean, if I didn't relapse, I would have close to. I probably have close to a year. Um, and that's simply because of my self will. I wasn't ready, and and essentially I didn't have my ass beat enough to want to change. You know what I mean? Like, um, what really made me change was, um, waking up from an overdose and seeing my family like hurt and just not having anything, you know what I mean? Like my rock bottom, I mean, this isn't like rock bottom for most people. I mean, it's rock bottom for a lot of people, but um, I didn't have anything. My family disowned me. Um, I was robbing from my girlfriend at the time. I stole everything from my family members. I was just a degenerate to society. I was robbing stores, um, doing a bunch of crazy stuff that, like, if anyone knows me, that's not the Brandon that they know. You know what I mean? Like, I would never do that. Like, but I had, like, my addiction had such a grip on me that, like, I went to any length to get high. Um, and it's unfortunate. Like, it kind of ruined my life, but, you know, like, everything happens for a reason, and I'm given a second chance, which is a miracle itself. But yeah, like, I mean, honestly, facing death, like looking death in the face, was enough for me to change. Um, that's ultimately what came down to it.
Oh, hey, totally understandable. I mean, it's unfortunate that for some people it gets that far, and even that's not enough. But at least you recognize your wake up call there.
Mm.
Um, the other thing that's so I don't want to say mind boggling because it's well documented, but what is the motivation when you know that that's where you're headed? What is the motivation to keep doing it? From the utopia, euphoric feeling, what is the motivation? What is the you know where you're at? Why keep going? And you still it's just explain it a little bit. Give somebody who doesn't know some
Yeah,
insight.
yeah, definitely, man. Um, you know, like, people could sit there and give me every single reason why not to do something. Like, it's gonna kill you, and that didn't matter to me. I literally loved the feeling of it. And I was always trying to fill a void. You know what I mean? Like, I was using that to fill something inside of me, like internally. Like, I wasn't okay. I mean, I dealt with a lot of different shit growing up, and I mean, that, like I said, it was my scapegoat for a long, long time. But it became the source of my pain. Just like I said. Um, so like when I was on it, like literally, like I, I'm not gonna lie, like there was times when in my active addiction that um, were the highlight of my life. Like, I had really good jobs. Um, my addiction also ripped those from me. You know what I mean? Like, um, but I mean, I can't really sit there and say something led me to it. It's just I ultimately loved the feeling of it, and it had such a grip on me that I would step on anyone's toes. I would hurt anyone I loved. I would literally do anything I could to get that feeling.
Right. Now, were you in the position where you were battling every day not to get sick, or were you in a position where it wasn't a not to get sick, even though it's a physical grip on you, but it was you were just doing it to continue the good feeling. You weren't worried about the withdrawals. You were just getting high.
No, it got to a point where my withdrawal symptoms were really bad, dude. Like, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Um, I couldn't. I mean, I couldn't really function as a normal person. I would get really irritated. People didn't want to be around me. Um, just being insane. That's ultimately what it does to you. When I went to rehab, I didn't sleep probably. I didn't sleep about any time I was there, and I went to a 30-day program in New Hampshire. Um, and I didn't sleep until probably about a week before I left. That's how much it actually affected my body. You can't physically die from opiate withdrawals, but it makes you feel like you're gonna die. Imagine the flu. Imagine a flu, but like 100 times stronger than the flu. You I mean, your nose constantly runs. Your stomach is just completely messed up. You can't hold food down. You can't really even hold water down. Um, so it's pretty bad, dude. You know what I mean? What it actually does to you physically. I literally lost all, like, I was a skin and bones 6 months ago. Um, if anyone seen me, they probably wouldn't recognize me. I looked like a skeleton with skin. Which is
No, I hear you there. I didn't see you. I've managed to see you when you've looked pretty healthy
mm,
throughout the years. But we touched on the effects of it, but elaborate on what kind of physical state the drug has on your body, and what kind of effect it has on your mind state, where it puts you aside from the euphoric, but where it puts you to justify all the things that you're able to do, conniving, maniacal wise.
yeah. Literally, I'll sit here and say, like, I told myself I would never shoot up any type of drugs. And shortly, like, I started with snorting it. And then I was snorting like 2 grams a day, which is kind of absurd. And then I found out, why not be an IV user with it, like, and that literally, like, instead of doing a gram or two, it went down from a gram to maybe like a quarter of a gram. I was shooting it, and I was feeling the same exact effects as I was feeling. Um, and it's such a strong feeling that, like, I can't, I don't know how to explain the feeling other than, um, just a huge rush. It made me feel like I didn't have any worries. All my mind would always race. Never thought I was good enough. I didn't fit in with anyone. All of that went away. So, like, I felt like I was a normal person on it, but to the outside, um, I just looked like a zombie. You know what I mean? As far as, like, physically, like I said, I couldn't fucking eat. I couldn't do anything. So, physically, just, it deteriorates your body. I know some people that, like, they could eat on it, but, like, they don't really eat healthy. You know what I mean? They're always craving sugar, which is something I try to stay away from now. Um, just sweets, like, I don't know. It just tricks your mind. Like, I couldn't eat normal food without, like, vomiting, and um, I'd always want to, like I said, I'd always want to eat sweets. I remember that when I was in my active addiction. So, just overall, it does not make you a healthy person. It's just, fuck, it messes you up completely. Like, mindset, like, it just, I can't really explain it, dude.
No, I hear you. It's something hard to explain if you're not in it. I I was kind of in a weird position where watch somebody shoot up every day. I was working with them,
Hmm.
and I watched them shoot up every day, multiple times a day for a while, and it kind of leaves you wondering, A, how somebody can do it, and B, how they function on it. It's quite a substance, man. It really is. But
Like, I feel like I could run races around everyone. I mean, but it was never enough. Like I would do a little bit and I would be okay. You know what I mean? Like all those symptoms would go away. I feel like I could do a whole bunch of shit, but that was never enough. Um, my addict mindset, like I wanted more, 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 and that was with any type of substance. I can't like I choose to stay away from every substance. Like when I like I said when I drink, I black out. When I smoke marijuana, I smoke it like a crackhead. Um, it's not just like one joint and that's enough. Like I'll smoke like an ounce to my face. Just that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like you can only get so high for marijuana. Like
At a certain point, it's just wasting it.
yeah.
No, I hear you. The other thing you touched a little bit on it, and you did explain it, but what situation? Give us a little bit of detail about when you came to that. Oh shit, I'm in rock bottom.
Um. So like that situation itself. I mean, I was there many times, but like I said, I overdosed. Um, but waking up in the hospital by myself with no one there, um, and me trying to reach out to people and they wanted nothing to do with me, like it really showed like where my addiction brought me. And it was like a reality check. Like this is how I'm going to be living the rest of my life. Like cheating death and having no one. Like you know what I mean? Like it's almost like being in a jail cell. I feel like you have no one. Um, and that's like a really shitty feeling, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
For
and
sure.
all my friends that I did have, they were users. Um, do I talk to any of those people now? No, I don't. Like, they sometimes hit me up, but they only want something. You know what I mean? They're not genuine friends. Um, so you know, they didn't value.
No, yeah, I seen you put that dude on blast.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do, man. My father, I don't know how much you know about, but my personal history. But my father, uh, was a part of one of the biggest drug dealing organizations in the state of Maine,
Okay.
and I was born in 1990. He stepped away from that. I'd say around that, a little bit earlier than that. The main guy went away to prison in '86, and it kind of died out from there. But in '90, he was fully stopped. And one of the things that he stressed to me growing up was, you, in order to not uh, perpetuate and give yourself opportunities to do stupid things, and to look like a stupid person who's doing illegal stupid things, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta disconnect from all those guys. So it's good to hear you say that part of your thing is to not contact anybody who's still doing that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately it's people, places, and things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't put myself in any type of situation that's gonna cause me to think otherwise. I don't talk to anyone that's gonna fucking cause me to relapse. I don't. I just I stay away from my old stomping grounds. I don't go back to them for any reason. I have no reason to be there. It's just gonna cause me to. It's gonna cause me to die. That's ultimately how it is. My addiction is it's a powerful thing, dude. That's the only way I can really explain that. Um, it's gonna, you know what I mean?
no, for sure. I mean, addiction is a hell of a thing, and in order to be wrapped up in it, it doesn't take um it doesn't take a special kind of person to be addicted.
Definitely
It's
doesn't.
something that happens, right? It's something that happens to everybody in every sort of way. An addiction, it depends on how you define it, and all of that stuff. But at the same time, it's a simple neurological reaction that you can calculate and trigger and manipulate. So um, it's a hell of a thing, man, and to survive it is a testament to the type of person that you are as a person. It's taken a lot of people out. I mean, being in it, you know more people who are doing and around it, and somebody that never got into it and it stayed on the outskirts of it. Because even at my worst, the one touched heroin. I never touched dope. You know what I mean? I never touched meth. So there was certain boundaries to that, but at the same time, um, there was a lot of bad there, and to navigate that and to get out of that and to survive that, it speaks a lot to the type of person that you are, and the rest of the survivors, man. You can't discredit anybody who survived this, and anybody who's struggling. Anybody who's struggling could be a survivor.
Really,
Um,
dude.
I want to get into the Narcan issue, and you mentioned overdosing. So I just want to. One of my questions was, have you been to that stage where you've needed Narcan? But I know an overdose doesn't necessarily constitute dying or needing Narcan. So with that, have you ever needed Narcan? And if so, like how many times? And how many times do you think you've overdosed without being like severely about to die, but have definitely like overdone it?
I mean, there's been, uh, I mean, handfuls of times that I cheated death. I would say I probably been Narcaned 3 or 4 different times. Um, two of the times being in one day. Um, so like, I mean, all I can really explain with that type of situation is it puts you in instant withdrawals. You wake up and you're just. I was like every time it happened to me, I would just wake up and I'm like, "What are you guys doing? Like, why did you do that?" Like, I was angry that they saved my life. You know what I mean? Like, it's and that's the craziness of it. Like, um, it just made me instantly irritated. Like, it made me like instantly like my stomach hurt. Like, just made me want to get high again. Um, and that's what I did. And sure enough, I would I've OD'd more than probably about 3 times in one day. But there's been other times where like I've gone out and like even just at my old job, like I went out, I don't remember anything, and I woke up face down on the floor. Like what just happened? You know what I mean? Like no one was there, luckily. Like um, and since then I've made like amends to all them, um, and I've done that type of process to fix that and tell them the truth, but to just to be a better person. But yeah, dude, like there's been multiple different times I can't even count. Every time you're doing it, like you're pretty much playing Russian roulette. Um, you never know what you're in. Like the heroin that's on the streets nowadays isn't even heroin. I would say probably about 75% of it is either fentanyl or carfentanil. You know what I mean? Like it's not even heroin.
No, I totally agree. The other problem with that is um the the carfentanil and the fentanyl is pharmaceutical made. Now, whether you want to claim it's American pharmaceutical made or Chinese pharmaceutical made, take your pick. But it's a legal pharmaceutical substance that if you are getting it from China, it's mailed easily to your doorstep for $10,000 a kilo. So, I mean,
True.
it's some really crazy, it's some really crazy stuff, and it, uh,
You know, and I'll get into that too. Like I honestly, I think the whole pharmaceutical industry, like is a big joke, dude. You know what I mean? Like they create more problems than they do actually fixing them. And it's just a money scheme. It's really all it is.
No, for sure. I definitely want to delve into the politics of the drug industry and that kind of stuff because being a victim of it myself, I've had to learn it, and I know being a victim yourself, we've had our own heated political debates about the Maine drug situation. So I know you're very astute, and although we might disagree about the way that things are being dealt in the state, we have the same outcome desire. So I don't mind getting it into it with you because I know regardless of the dumb things we say to each other, it's all love in the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
I'm really glad that we're doing this because the issue is so close to home, man. I mean, I want to touch on it recently. I want to touch on it briefly, but recently with the um Brandon Steele situation, like that hits me on a personal level that I can't even calculate. That's a brother, but at the
Hmm.
same time, my older brother has a friend that's like a brother to him who lost his actual brother. You know what I mean? So in a removed third party sense, I feel connected to the dude that lost his brother because in the situation somebody lost their life. So it's a crazy way that so many people are gripped by the tragedy of what's going on and they're not even in the direct situation of it. It's such a devastating thing, man. And to be in the gut of it and get out is
It's
definitely
crazy.
a testament, man.
I actually was just looking at a picture of Steve Reale, the one who died,
Yeah.
and his brother Jason was actually living in the sober house.
Yeah. No, and
Touched on that the
that's
other day.
how close it is, man. Like I don't even know your connections to the two people, but at the same time, just having this little interaction, they're so connected. You know what I mean? Like all my older brother Matt can express is the heartfelt loss that his friend expresses to him. Like it's a real situation. And then on the other end, like I know Brandon probably just as well as I know you, if not a little better. I mean, I slept over his house every weekend. We played sports together. I mean, I probably know him like in a personal sense a little bit better, but we all grew up together. So to see a
I
childhood
was in.
friend, wrapped up in the situation that he's in, it's just. And then the other party is a member of a family. You know what I mean? Like I've been friends with the Mitchell family. My family's been friends with them going back decades. So it's so crazy how everything is so intertwined and it's so devastating. It's so devastating.
It's true, dude. Um, yeah, dude. Like, I was in active addiction with Brandon. Um, that was
Right.
the last person I relapsed with. And I had to cut all my ties with him. And the weird thing is like I seen Steve a couple weeks before that, and I knew he was getting stuff off of him, and I knew the whole story before it even happened, which is kind of fucked up. Like I pretty much like I knew who it was, but I kind of wanted to stay out of it. You know what I mean? It was just like one of them's like pretty much my family members, and one of them's like a really like I considered him a really good friend, but at the time I was in active using with him, which is kind of fucked up. And I didn't want to believe it at first. I mean, I asked him, but I mean, when you're in active addiction, I mean, you'll lie. You'll lie. Someone can know you're high, and you're gonna lie about it. Uh, it's just, I mean, I don't know if that's a common theme, but like, I never would tell anyone that I was high. You know what I mean? even when I was.
No, I definitely think that's not. It's definitely common practice. I know from personal experience, there was a long period where my brother who used um acted like he wasn't and acted like the friends that were with him all the time weren't, even though that's what they all did together, no matter how functional they were. Because the other thing you have to remember is, regardless of uh, what you guys were doing, and you very know you know better than I do the circle that I'm talking about, but you guys were all functioning. You guys all had lives. It's not like any of the people that I'm talking about were homeless on the street begging for change. So it's it's a functioning level of being high all the time. Now, right, the thing I want to hit on is I know he hit it for me for a long time, but there was a certain time where you can't hide it from the people who know. That
Yeah.
before you could rub your eyes and say you're tired, I ain't slept in a day. But after it's been 6 days and we've been sitting on the couch together, and I know you've slept 3/4 of each day, and you're telling me that you ain't slept none and you're just really tired, like something's up. So with that, like what is the mind state of being in the position of trying to hide it from somebody who kind of knows you're doing something, but doesn't exactly know what it is you're doing?
Hmm.
Is he just hiding his new girlfriend, or is he really doing something really bad that I'll really yell at him for? So
Yeah.
give us a like a day in the life of a guy who's trying to hide it from his brother or his girlfriend, or somebody that eventually will put up with it because they love him beyond all end, but they don't want him to know, and they're trying to hide it, but they're losing that curtain.
Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Absolutely, dude. Like in my active addiction, um, I would my girlfriend at the time, I would always I mean, you can tell when someone's high. I mean, on opiates, their pupils get pinned out. Um, and like I would be antsy one minute and like super like irritated, and then she would notice I would go in her bathroom for forever. Um, it seemed like to her. Um, to me, I thought I was only in there for like 20 minutes. Um, but that's not the case. Um, and in that time, I would be shooting up and I would come out and I'd be all happy. You know what I mean? Like, I'd, I'd be all like, I want to be around her and I wasn't irritated and I kind of wanted to do stuff. I wanted to be active. Um, and I was nice to her. Um, but shortly, I mean, you can only hide it for so long until they know something's up. You know what I mean? I, like I said, like I was shooting up in her bathroom, and it got to a point where like she knew what I was doing, but she didn't have any proof because I would try to hide it so well, and I would always make up an excuse or something. And even with like trying to get money to like scheme around for it, like I always was very very shady about how I got money, um, and I always tried to like cover my footsteps so they wouldn't figure it out. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
but like I said, I went to like any lengths to try to get high, and I always tried to hide it from people. But it was like a huge sense of paranoia. That's really how I can explain that. Like you're always wondering, like, do they actually know? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, the stress levels must be ridiculous.
yeah, constantly stressed.
What? Right, I was gonna say, like, what kind of What kind of anxiety and stress did you have before the rehabilitation versus what you have now? I can only imagine what kind of relief it is, but explain what kind of hostile environment you put yourself into, and now you're out of.
Yeah, like when I went into to rehab, I went to detox first, and that was just like I mean, I thank the staff where I went. It's a city detox, so like it was. I mean, it's not like the best looking place, but like the staff made me comfortable, and then like when you're actually withdrawing like from everything, like cold turkey, like you don't have anything, that fucking sucks. But your anxiety is through the roof. You can't concentrate, and in the entire time, like I went to a strict 12-step program, um, which is, I mean, it's definitely high level stress, if you're not used to it. Um, but I kept telling myself like I had to push through it. But my anxiety level and like my stress level was constantly there. Like I always wanted to give up. And I'm, like I don't really know how to else explain that other than like it fucking completely sucked. I just wanted to give up. I'm thankful I didn't, because the rewards are so much more better than living that actual life. Um, and in that time, you feel like it's lasting forever. Like I was at rehab for 30 days, and it literally felt like I was there for like fucking 5 months. I mean, like, you don't sleep. Like, I didn't sleep the entire time I was there. So, like, and I'm trying to constantly learn things about myself and do a lot of soul searching. So, like, I mean, it mentally exhausts you, but, like, now, I don't, like, I was diagnosed with, like, depression. I was diagnosed with, like, anxiety, um, all of that shit. I don't take anything for that anymore. I don't I don't even really take Tylenol. I don't. I think it's just you control like, and I feel like people have like this perception you're not allowed to be depressed in life or shit like that. Truth is like life is life, but I have good days and I have growing days. I don't I don't like to sit there and say I have bad days, because ultimately like it's all what you make of it. Really, that's all. That's kind of like how I look at things.
No, definitely life is the lens you look through, the perspective you have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I totally agree with the analysis that people don't expect to have bad days. Um, it's a pure product of our society.
Mm-hmm.
But you're absolutely right in the fact that it's only natural and it's only right for people to have high points and for people to have low points. You have moments where you feel really great, and this goes all the way. I mean, I look at my 1 year old, and there's times where she does something, and she knows that she's done something that we can all be proud of, and we're all gonna cheer. And before she gets any recognition, she's excited.
Mm-hmm.
There's other times where she's getting into something and she knows that she's not supposed to, and she gets yelled at, and she turns around in guilt or shame or embarrassment.
Yeah.
Now, I think part of that is being taught, but I think part of that is definitely natural. So the ups and the downs come with life. You can't get too hung up on a high, on a promotion, on a new car, because your new car in a year is an old car. Your new job in a year is an old job. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get stuck in the lows of this is what I'm doing today, this is what I did yesterday, because tomorrow brings a new horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely agree with that 110%. I'm glad that you put that out there because that's a big thing that I think society is missing. We
Yeah.
don't need so many pharmaceuticals, And life is life. There's ups and downs. There's peaks and valleys. There's there's stagnant times, and there's times of straight growth, and times of straight descent. You know what I mean? We go up, we go down. Sometimes we're sitting on a good plateau for a really long time, and we call that copacetic, and we call that, job security or whatever. But I think there's definitely peaks and valleys, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's huge to life. There's a lot more to life than being stagnant being in one area, being the popular one all the time, or being the funny one all the time. You gotta let people rotate and have their shine, and be part of that cycle. Life is a cycle.
Fucking so true.
One other thing you talked about was you keep mentioning is your last recovery versus other attempts. The the one thing the one thing I believe in is second chances, 1,000%. Second chances, third chances. I think it's a travesty in the States where Narcan can only be administered by medical professionals. So with that, I just want to know, like, how many times did you go to treatment, and when was the time where it sunk in? Because it might have sunk in, but you didn't practice it. So how many times did you go, and when was the time where you were like, all right, this is the way I got to do it. I just got to man up and do it.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. I went to Detox about, I want to say, a good 10 to 12 times, and I never did anything with it. I just went to Detox and I thought I was going to be healed. Um, but that's not like, and this is just from my experience and how I perceive it. Um, that's not enough time for your body and your mind to clear itself from that drug. I went to a 7-day detox. That's just not enough. I didn't learn anything about myself. Um, and I was on drugs the entire time I was there. It was just like more of to get me through the symptoms, and it was a band aid. It was almost like a crutch. It was like a spin cycle to just push me out and start all over again. Um, Around like the last time I went to detox, um, I finally had enough, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna take their suggestion, and I'm just gonna do whatever they tell me to do. Um, and that's something that I try to tell people too. You gotta learn to take suggestion. Like they're there for a reason. You can't like why try to reinvent something that already works. You know what I mean? Like they're trained in that area. Some people can do it, but a lot of people can't. Um, you'd have a lot of work, um, and that's something that like I kind of struggled with. So I finally I was just like, like I've had enough. Like I gotta make some sacrifices, and the gift of desperation came in, and I was just like, like I'll do whatever it takes. Um, so with that said, I mean, they set me up with a 30-day rehab. I didn't want to go because it was out of state. Wasn't gonna know anyone, and ultimately I was there by myself, and I just had to deal with it. Um, there was times when I was at rehab that I almost left, um, and I'm thankful that I didn't, because I mean, because I learned a lot from that place. And there's a lot of things that I learned um, through each time I relapsed and each time I tried to to get recovered. I'm still in recovery. I'm never going to say I'm recovered. You don't graduate from this. I mean, it's kind of like a lifelong thing for me. Um, I mean, people have their opinions on whether it's a disease or whether it's by choice. Ultimately, I think I was born with it because, like I said, everything I did it excessively. Um, and that goes for anything that I did. So ultimately, I just feel like I was born with that. And it runs through my entire family. Like my sister died from it. My brother he had his legs amputated because of it. Um, my dad, he died from it. So like, I mean, I've lost a lot of different people from addiction itself. Um, but yeah, like I said, I use everything as a tool. I learned something from each time I was in those situations. But it didn't come until like the last time around, like I finally just like I was like, you know what, like I can't, like I tried to get recovered. Um, I tried to get into recovery, and I wasn't really taking suggestion. I was kind of half-assing it, and I was trying to do things my way, instead of the way that the only way that actually works. Um, so I, this time around, like I've just learned to take suggestion and do whatever it is they tell me to do. I just do it. You know what I mean? Like I gotta do it. Like I can't grow as a person if I don't get uncomfortable. So I gotta constantly put myself in uncomfortable situations, and they're not bad situations. It's just situations to actually make me grow. Whether that's like speaking in front of people or talking to people about this, or trying to help people with it, or bring people through the different program, or just stuff like that. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I definitely like the positive promotion that you're putting up on your social media, and even I'll touch on it. I was gonna try to avoid it, but I'll just touch on it.
Go for it.
Even the simple thought provoking things like you said the other day, a drug is a drug. Now, in the context, yes, a drug is a drug.
Yeah.
How much more simple could it get? But with the context of you and the history of your posts,
Mhm.
it got I by the time I was conscious of the post, it had well over 103 responses,
Yes.
comments, and a lot of discourse and a lot of philosophy on drugs and this and that and the other. So it's definitely it's crazy how impactful, and not only you but the people that you've surrounded yourself with now in the recovery and the things that you're doing and the positive message that you're putting out. It's really awe inspiring of how impactful even one person's positive message could be. I mean, I am an advocate of the message, not only yours, but other people. So I have many other people who are recovering addicts on my page with a lot of, but I mean, it's so great to see, and the fact that not only you and how much you affect, but each one of them affects a certain amount of people each day. It's really it's inspiring, man. It makes you want to get out there and do more. So your work and the things that you are doing now with your outreach. I see you with every day with somebody new, or at least somebody new to me. I mean, they to you, you've known them forever, or have been through different things with them. So, but to me, to see you reach out every day and try to bring somebody into your positivity, whether they're in a positive light or a negative light, you're always trying to spread that positivity. So that's great. I love that. That's what you got to do, man. I love that
Yeah,
aspect about you right now.
yeah, absolutely, man. Like I feel like I've done so much wrong in this world, and like I've done so much bad shit that I feel like I have to give back. Whether it's with hope, spreading a message, or just giving back to the community. Um, and and I'm learning sometimes, like I don't always have to be I don't always have to post it for validation on my social media, but like I've said before, like I feel like social media sometimes can be just like the news. It's just filled with, you never see anything good sometimes. You're always looking at bad shit, whether it's the war going on, or just like people dying, or just shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I always try to like, one, I always try to get people talking. Um, it's always I always love a good debate. Um, and like like I said, I try to spread hope as much as I can. And like, who am I as a person if I'm not giving back to the community that I'm a part of? You know what I mean? Like,
No, for sure.
that's what keeps me going. Like, that's what gives me the flame to like keep going. Like, when people like I get people messaging me all across the country, like just like from California to like Miami. I get people that I know in Chicago, like, and they always tell me like that. I mean, I don't personally see it, but like they're telling me that I'm saving their lives, like just with like my posts. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like that's crazy to me. So it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, and that's what keeps me going. You know what I mean? When if I can save one person, like, the agony of everything I've been through is so worth it.
No, that's a great way to live your life each day. One thing that you touched on, when we talked about how much recovery you've been through, is the difference. Explain a little bit the difference between a detox and a real recovery, a comprehensive recovery plan to get somebody on the right path. What's the difference between a simple detox and what's really gonna work for somebody who's trying to get clean?
Um, like I said, I mean, sometimes, I mean, and this is just for me. I mean, and it doesn't speak for everyone, but like for me, I'm in a 12-step program. That's what works for me. I'm not going to sit there and say other stuff doesn't work for people, because religion could save someone's life. Um, just exercise could change someone's life. Yoga, meditating, all of that stuff. I mean, just getting in touch with your spirituality. Um, but there's many different things that could actually help someone. Church, religion, like I said. So there's multiple different things, but like just a detox personally for me, like, and I've seen this too many times being in recovery, like it's just not enough. You gotta dig deeper than that. Again, everybody. I'm not. Oh, sorry. I thought you
No,
said
yeah, go ahead.
no. You gotta dig deeper than that. Like, I just feel like it's not enough, and it can be enough for some people, but the majority of the people that I've seen go through detox, it's more or less just a spin cycle. And every detox that I've been to, they're pumping you full of like sedatives just to make you feel better. So you're not actually like, yeah, you're clean from that substance for 7 days, but it's almost like a band-aid. They're giving you other substances to make you feel better. So it's not true sobriety. Um, I feel like, um, I mean, I could get into like symptoms and all that stuff, but like, I mean, I've already touched base on that. Like, you can have like post-acute withdrawal symptoms for up to 2 years, and there's still some days. I'm not going to sit here and say like I don't have cravings, because there's some days where I do. Like, it gets on my mind, but I try to like get rid of that thought like as quick as I possibly can, whether that's staying busy or doing something with someone, or just even like talking to someone about it. You know what I mean? Like, if I get honest about it, then chances are like I'm gonna feel better about that situation. I'm not hiding it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. That's what works for me. Um,
No, I totally understand.
mhm. So I mean, like I said, there's multiple different ways you can get clean. For me, um, I found that the 12-step program that I'm in works really well. Um, like I said, I mean, I live in a sober house, so I have to do certain requirements to live here, and I have to do a lot of different stuff with recovery in order to actually be here. So, I mean, it's good for me. There's some days where I hate it. No one wants to go to live at a sober house, but it's not as bad as what everyone makes it out to be. Um, you're pretty much learning a lifestyle that everyone does. Like, I don't want to pay my bills, but I do it because if I don't, I'm not gonna have a fucking a roof over my head. You know what I mean? Like, it teaches you like basic stuff about life that like when you're in addiction, like you don't care about. Um, like when I was in addiction, like I would fucking buy a Snickers bar and make it last 4 days. Like that's absolutely crazy. And I would spend my electric bill money on a bag of weed and some dope. Like that's not being a responsible adult. So it teaches you skills, and it's a structure that it helps a lot of people. It's helping me. Um, so I mean, like that's where I'm at with that.
No, for sure. And one of the main things that you hit on there is routine, and I definitely want to touch on that. But before we get too far removed from the subject, I just want to touch on we both talked about the importance of changing the people around you and that kind of stuff. So what level of importance did switching your dynamics, your life dynamics play for you? Was it really crucial? Was it not so much? Was it a fine detail? Or was it one of the pillars that hold you together now?
Yeah. No, it was really crucial for me. Like I said, I had to change people, places, and things. And anything I put before my sobriety, I'm gonna lose my sobriety. Um, so ultimately, like I try to and I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm a perfect person because I'm not, and I don't ever want to be. But I always try to aim for progress. Um, you know what I mean? Like if I put a relationship before my sobriety, I'm gonna lose that relationship and I'm gonna lose my sobriety because I'm putting ultimately like what's should be more important in my life than 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 something so that can happen anytime. I guess as that's what I'm trying to explain. Um, like I don't know how to explain it. Like like I said, anything I put in front of it, I'm gonna lose. So that could be a relationship, that could be a fucking car, that could be my place to live, that could be anything. If I don't constantly work at this work, if I don't constantly work my program or like my sobriety, I'm just gonna lose it all. Like I said, it's not something I can graduate from. I'm always gonna have it. Um, it's it's just who I was born as, I guess. It's just the traits and genes that I was given. Um, unfortunately, um, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like I've learned a lot from it, and it's made me who I am today. So
No, for sure. Um, I just I want to highlight how important it is for the change of the routine because um it's very much what you think, what you do. It all encompasses your actions and your behavior. So
yeah,
changing the people you're around and the decisions that are influencing your actions is huge.
yeah, absolutely. Like I always say, like who you chill with is pretty much who you are. If I'm chilling with a bunch of degenerates, chances are I'm gonna be a degenerate to society. Um, so I try to surround myself with people that are in recovery as well, or people that just don't even live that lifestyle. Yeah, I mean, I'm granted like I'm gonna have friends that drink here and there, but I don't put myself in that situation. Like, for instance, like I went to my 10-year high school reunion like last month, and I was there for about 20 minutes and I left because everyone there was getting wasted. It's just not something I want to be around. And I know with my mindset, like maybe I can just have one. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever want to put myself in that situation because I know one is too many and 1,000's not enough. So that's kind of like where I'm at it. But like my as far as like my routine goes, that's like huge for me. Like I wake up like before I would sleep all day, then I would wake up and try to find a way to make money, whether it's fucking lie, cheating, and stealing. You know what I mean? Like that's just the nature of the game. When you don't have anything, and that's just not who I want to be as a person. So like I wake up, like it was huge for me. I didn't even like brush my teeth. I didn't take a fucking shower like until I got those drugs. I wake up, I fucking take a shower, I brush my teeth, I go to work. I get out of work, I go to the gym. I go to meetings. Um, I meet with like my mentor that has to do with this stuff. I you know what I mean? Like I try to give back to the community. Um, I always do a bunch of different activities with people in sobriety, whether that's like we have like sober volleyball tournaments or um, doing stuff to constantly keep myself busy. I try not to isolate. I know if I isolate, it's not gonna. I start getting in my head, and then like I get depressed, and it's just not who I want to be. So I'm always trying to, like I said, I'm always trying to stay busy and do something to keep my mind occupied. That way I don't let it wander.
No, for sure. But I don't mind. It invites trouble for sure. I'm very much of the same mentality. So, another thing I wanted to touch touch upon. You've articulated it pretty well. But just aside from the vigorous uh counseling and sober routine that you have, what keeps you grounded to this?
Mm-hmm.
Like not what mechanisms keep you sober, but what keeps you wanting to stay with those? What keeps you grounded in all this?
Mm-hmm. Keeps me grounded, dude. What keeps me going is um, like just the gifts that I've been given in sobriety. Like I've become a second chance at life. That's huge. My family's starting to talk to me again. I have friends that generally care, like they genuinely care about me. Like they reach out to me and they invite me to do stuff. Um, when I was in active addiction, like no one hit me up unless it was to get them drugs or use with them. So I mean, even that, just like I have a job, like um, I just know like and just even helping other people like that is big itself. Like I know when I help other people, like whether it's feeding the homeless or fucking just like volunteering my time at like a your local soup kitchen or just doing stuff like that, like it feels good. I mean, like I'm giving back, I am helping them rather than always trying to reward myself. You know what I mean? Like
No, for sure. The humanitarian principles that should keep us all motivated each day. It's great to hear. Um, Now, again, it's something that you touched on. You didn't really get into, but how often do the cravings kick in, and like, what is the defense mechanism against them? What do you do to quell that craving so that it doesn't really get any further than the initial
absolutely.
trigger?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Um, you know, like I said, my cravings they happen randomly. My addiction sideswipes me, and suddenly I'll just get this fucking sudden urge, whether I want to drink a beer or or I want to shoot some dope or smoke some weed or fucking hit a crack pipe, whatever it is. I get it in waves, and it just happens randomly. It doesn't happen like once a week. It happens just randomly. And when that does happen, um, I immediately contact someone in the program that I'm in, or I I hit a meeting, or I don't sit by myself. You know what I mean? Because I know if I sit by myself, my mind's gonna wander, and it's just the devil in me, and that's ultimately just gonna be a bad place. So like I said, I always try to stay busy, or I reach out to people that I know have been through it, and what they do that helps them.
No, for sure. Like you've said a million times, that's what works for you. So what could you recommend to somebody who necessarily might not find solace in those things? What other ways could somebody, help fight their cravings or fight that trigger?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, I mean, like I said, there's many different outlets. You can play sports. I mean, I know people that play like video games to get out of their own head. Not like excessive amounts, but like they do that. They do, like I said, play sports. Even go to church. Um, just like switching up your routine, doing stuff that you normally wouldn't do. That's what I had to do. I had to find I had to find all new hobbies, because everything that I did involved doing drugs or doing something that wasn't fucking good. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to pretty much reinvent myself and like what I did. Um, and today, like, I'm happy for everything that I've done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm proud to like go to October volleyball tournaments, and go to like different types of like sobriety conventions and stuff like that. Um, but I mean, like I said, there's many different outlets. Just try to like, I don't know, like you read, you just try to like keep your mind occupied. That's like the best thing that's like the biggest advice that I was always given. Um, that's really, I mean, I can't really think of
Yeah,
anything else.
no, those are all great things. The reading is definitely high up on my list. So yeah, no, for sure. They all sound like great things.
I do
And
like
go
I do a
ahead.
lot of music. I have a huge
Yeah.
passion with music. Make music. I do the business side to it. So that definitely keeps my mind occupied a lot. I book shows for an artist. Like, I do a bunch of different stuff with it. So I mean, that keeps my mind occupied.
No, for sure. One thing with the I definitely want to touch upon your professional side of life, for sure. Um, but I just want to. How important or what value do you put on counseling?
On counseling, I mean, I don't personally think you need to pay like a therapist or a counselor to get the properties that you need. I think you just need someone that like you can relate to. Like the 12 step program that I'm in, um, I have to get a sponsor, and basically, I mean, you just find qualities that you want out of that person. Like, when I first met my sponsor, like, I instantly talked to him, and I knew like, wow, like this guy is like, he's doing the deal, and like he's got everything that I want. You know what I mean? Like, so I try to have him, like I reach out to him, and like, and he has life experience. He's older than me. He teaches me a lot. Um, so it's more or less like just a mentor. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's how I can explain it. Like, um, that's how I'd explain it. Like,
No, that's perfect. Not a clinical professional that's gonna cost you, but even just a confidant, somebody that that you call a brother or whatever in any situation you can express open and free thought with. So no, they definitely that definitely explains it, man. What better counselor could you have than somebody that you grew up and understands you? So, um, the other thing that I want to touch on that you touched on is well, actually, we didn't touch on it. We touched on um the Narcan,
Mm-hmm.
but what do you feel is the other crutch? Because yeah, no, very important. It's awesome. What is your value on Suboxone? Is it a crutch? Is it an enabler? Is it an excuse?
Um,
What level of value would you put on that?
I mean, there's different, like, I mean, I have different thoughts about that. Um, as far as like Suboxone goes, and like, I mean, I totally works for. Um, I personally don't think you're not completely sober, living a fruitful life if you're actually using Suboxone. Yeah, you may be off opiate, you may be off heroin or whatever, but basically you're treating opiate addiction with another drug that mimics an opiate, which doesn't really make much sense to me. Um, I personally, like I said, I mean, I'm not knocking whatever works for people works for people. I've tried to use it; it doesn't work for me. I end up abusing it. It works wonders for some people, um, but to me, I think it's more or less a band aid than the actual issue that it's fixing. You know what I mean? Like it's not. It can only do so much because when I was using it, I abused it, and the withdrawal symptoms from that were a lot worse than actual withdrawals.
No, yeah, I understand that perspective. Now with the Suboxone, what is your value on a clinic?
Yeah, I believe like I don't think people should be using it long term. If they're gonna use it, I believe a taper works significantly. Like I believe like you should be on it, and then you should wean yourself off of it. And it doesn't have to be for a long time. It could be for a week. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
That's
I agree. I think it's totally preposterous.
mhm.
The people that have been there for 20 plus years
Jeez.
saying, "No, I'm clean. I go to the clinic." What?
Right? Like I know people that are like, "Oh, I go to the methadone clinic and or whatever." Like I totally don't agree with like how the methadone clinic is administered. I don't agree with anything about it. You try to stop it and they up your dosage. Um, like there's just so many different.
I think it's crazy. I think if you go every day, I think it's crazy that if you go every day and you subscribe to the system and the rules, they give you a lockbox to take home and do the drugs at home. Like, really? How does that make any? I thought we were trying to get them off of it. You just gave them a week's supply to take home with them.
To drool on themselves. You know,
Right,
there's people that are like, oh, like, yeah, I'm getting clean, but they're like, they've been on it for 5 years and they're taking 400 milligrams of methadone. That's fucking ridiculous.
right. It's not a get off dose.
No, that's not. And like the withdrawal symptoms from that are absolutely insane. Like there's some detoxes that won't even take you if you're withdrawing from methadone.
Yeah, that's nuts. No, it's a seriously crazy thing. So before we get into more of the social aspects and effects of it, I just want you to give not really a pitch of what you're on, but just give us your message, your overall, like, we heard Brandon and the shit he's done,
Mhm.
but what is your what is your goal? What is your aim for yourself, for Brandon in the future? Because thank God, man, like, you don't have kids yet. You've done all the dumb shit before you had any real responsibility. So when all of that does come and your kids come and all of that, like, what is the Brandon that you want them to know and understand and to be around? Where do you want to be? What is your aspiration?
You know, I try to take my life like one day at a time. I try to keep it simple as possible because I know like if I try to complicate things and like scheme, like think of scenarios in my head, it's just gonna like cause me to stress and like like if I try to think about goals and not reach them, like it just fucking stresses me out. So I take it one day at a time. But I mean, my aspirations in life. I mean, there's so many different things that I want to do, but like sobriety is teaching me a bunch of different things, and like I'm trying to narrow that down. And eventually, I want to go back to school. I wanna, I wanna, I wanna have my own business. Like I mean, yeah, I have like side businesses. Like I do graphic designing and like like videography and photography and all that stuff. But I want to have like something that's like completely stable. I want to build something from the ground up and like have an empire. You know what I mean? Like, and ultimately, I've thought about it a lot, and I want something that has to do with like media or like the entertainment business, whether it's music or putting events together or something like that. But like I want to continue to give back to the community and try to be a power of example for people that don't have one. Um, Someone that people can look up to when it comes to sobriety. Like, I like when people come to me and ask me for advice and what works for me. Um, that's like the whole beauty of it, like giving back and helping other people. You know what I mean? Like that are struggling, that are on the same road that I was on. Um, that's like the beauty of it. Like just helping another addict.
Nah, man, that's a beautiful answer. There's nothing better in life than taking it as it comes, with the peaks, with the valleys, and trying to stretch your hand out and help the guy that's going through peaks and valleys navigate them. You know what I mean, with the best knowledge available. So, nah, man, that's a beautiful outlook to have on anybody's life, man. I personally subscribe to the idea that we shouldn't all be in a cubicle or tied down to any social construct. So anybody who takes anything one day at a time, one one moment at a time, it is what it is. Myself with kids, man, I one minute my kid wants to do this, one minute my kid wants to do that. As much as I want to give
Oh,
structure and order, it's a by the whim kind of thing, man. You just gotta go with the flow.
yeah.
It's life. So nah, it's a beautiful answer, man. Nah, there's so much that we could sit here and get into. Um, I will, I do want to touch on your personal, your professional life, and then how this impacted your professional life. Like, I don't know if the whole J Star has anything to do with it, or if that's a different issue. But I mean, you were very prominent in the music scene and have been for a very long time. But you were with one guy for a while, and now you switch. So, like, what is your political, not your political, your professional landscape look like? And what was the the impact that the drugs had on on that landscape? and being off them now, where does that landscape look like it's gonna go?
Yeah, like previously, where the artist that I was working with, um, I did a lot of different like milestones with him. Like I got really far with him, and I accomplished a lot of different things with him that I never thought I could do because it was all self-taught. Um, which ultimately that's like huge to me. Like I never thought I could get that far with someone, um, and now like that kid's getting paid for his music. Um, he's he's um he's getting paid features. Like he's doing a bunch of different stuff. I just chose to personally venture away from him just because of the lifestyle that he lives. Um, it's more or less like trap style music, I guess you could say. Um, which is cool. Like I still vibe to it sometimes. I still listen to it, but that's just not like what I want to be recognized as. Um, like the artist that I work with now, he's actually in the program that I'm in, um, and like his lyrics are very like they're very they're very positive and uplifting, and they actually have meaning behind it. It's not always about the same thing. Like it's not always about smoking weed and fucking bitches and driving cars and getting money. Um, it's not always about that. There's more of a message behind it. Um, and it's actually inspired me to actually make music myself. So like like this kid that I started working with, he couldn't get on a local show if you tried to get him on a local show. Like he was doing all of his own music. Now he goes to like a professional studio and he gets all of his stuff recorded with one of my engineers that I use. I do all of his graphic designing. Like I just try to give him an image of like an actual professional artist. And now this kid is literally booked for like the entire summer. Like I can't even like our next show we're opening up for like two major artists, like a set right before them, which is a huge opportunity for us to be seen at a giant music festival. Um, like it's it's always it's a learning process, but like it's such like I don't know, it keeps me like um, I don't know, like I have such a passion for it, and I just want to see someone succeed with it. You know what I mean? It's not always about me with it. I'm trying to help him and like guide him down the right direction with it. It's still like a learning process to me, but like that's why I love it. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning like the do's and the don'ts to it. There's always like trials and tribulations with it, that I'm learning, and that's totally okay, dude. Like I'm okay with failing, but I'm not gonna fail forever. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna do it the right way. Um, but yeah, like I've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing the music industry since about 2008 when I got out of high school. Um, I was known as this local promoter people would go to, and I would set up like house parties with like DJs and local artists to perform at. Um, and that became like it came pretty big for me. Like I started like literally packing out houses, and that led to like people seeing like the house parties on like YouTube and like just hearing my name, and like that led to like me selling out events at like your local nightclubs and and venues, whether it's like a stadium or like stuff like that, like the State Theater, um, selling out venues like that. Um, and like when I started working with the artist named J Star, like yeah, me and him had a falling out, but like that was honestly like I wouldn't trade that for anything. Like I learned a lot from like I learned a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot like that I needed to learn about the music industry, in order to get this artist where I'm working with now to where I want him to be. Um, so it's I don't know. So it's just a big learning process, dude, and it's something I'm completely passionate about. My drug addiction, has ripped a lot of those opportunities away from me. But in sobriety, I've gained a lot of different opportunities back, and ones that I never thought I would ever actually have, and more. So I wouldn't give it up for anything.
No, it's awesome, man. Sitting in the position I am, I don't sit and judge anybody, but the one thing that I do is sit back and observe. So it's amazing to see people that I grew up with, people that I care about, people that I genuinely give a fuck about succeed and do well. You know what I mean? It sucks to see them down. It sucks to see them out. It definitely sucks to see that name scroll across the screen saying rest in peace, so and so. It's so many of those. So
It's almost
whenever there's a good story, a positive outcome of a shitty situation, I definitely like to highlight it and do my best, man. Your story honestly inspires. Um, it's it's a great story to have, and it's an unfortunate beginning to have, but it's also a great way to turn the shitty hand you were dealt around and be great. So, I mean, the the substance, the meat of your story is something that other people can latch onto and find hope and inspiration in it. So I definitely appreciate you sharing your story, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Now we get into the good stuff. Now we get into opinions and uh, feelings about where we're at as a society, as a nation, and as a world with this drug crisis. Because we are smack dab in the middle of this bitch. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination, and this started way before any of us were even a twinkle in our daddy's eye, and well before he was a twinkle in his daddy's eye.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, I definitely am looking forward to this conversation we're about to have because some of my best political spars have been with you, man. I mean, they've gotten pretty nasty, and I've had to apologize a numerous amount of times, but they were fun while we were in them. So
Yeah.
so to start us off in this crazy quest of opinions and feelings, I just want to get your opinion. Let's go all the way back to one of the original debates we had about LePage and the taking away the money of the drug clinics, which was really a travesty. It really was. And I just a recap of that whole situation, because at the time I thought it was a smart move in bringing in the National Guard, and everybody else thought it was a dumb move because National Guard are not police. But I saw it as a business move. I saw it as he took away our federal funding, so we're going to use a federal resource in order to put them in a position where they had to give us federal funding. Now it didn't end up the way that we all wanted it to, and we got law enforcement funding instead of clinical funding. But that was a good discourse, because you did bring up a lot of good points, man. It was a dumb idea as far as a fundamental way to deal with the drug problem. So like with all of our personal knowledge in the drug problem, man, like where do you see a solution coming in? Because it's really hard to see a solution. And even going back to where we were talking about law enforcement versus recovery, like recovery is a long road. You know what I mean? And like where do you put the money? What's a good situation to put the money, man? Like I still think that's a hot topic. I still think recovery versus enforcement is a hot topic because I'm an advocate for uh, people using things that allow them to experience whatever they want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. But at the same time, the people that are dealing with the things that kill people is something we need to put a hold on. So, like, where does that fine line come in, Mandy? Where's your insight on the solution? Like, it's a crazy thing.
I mean, I honestly, like, when I sit there and think about it, like, I don't know if there is a solution. I know, like, you can sit there and ultimately, like, I think there needs to be more education on it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's like a big problem with it. Like, people, like, I don't think arresting drug addicts is gonna fix. I feel like there should be more recovery centers and stuff for to actually fix their lives. Like, you know, you're sticking someone in a box and treating them like a criminal isn't really going to fix anything. Yeah, I'm totally for getting rid of all the drug addicts, or not drug addicts, drug dealers. But if you think about it, like, you arrest one and there's one that's going to take his place. You
No,
know?
I agree, but how do you feel about Duterte down in the Philippines killing drug dealers and Trump and President Trump saying that he was for killing, executing high level drug dealers that are serving extensive sentences for drugs. So with that, like how do you feel about, although drug addicts are different than drug dealers, what extent do you persecute a drug dealer at? Do you execute somebody who's dealing deadly drugs, or do you just let them serve out a life in prison where they can still manipulate and do things on the outside?
True. Like, I'm kind of like stuck with that. Like, I don't really have an answer for it because, like, I see it from both sides. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, I don't like. I just don't think you should kill someone for actually better. You know what I mean? Like, who's to say like who's who's to say like a prison sentence isn't gonna fix someone? You know, I don't necessarily think they should deserve to die because of that. I do believe um, if you're an addict or not a drug addict and you sell someone drugs and they fucking die from it, like, I believe you should pay the consequences for that. Whether that's life in prison or you get the death penalty. Um, I totally, like, you know what I mean. Like, there's like, for instance, like that whole Brandon Steele case. Um, I don't know how long he's getting in jail, but I agree. Like, yeah, he's one of my friends, but I believe like he got what he deserved. You know what I mean? Like, um, if someone
I
gets the
agree.
death penalty because they fucking killed someone with the drugs they sold them, I believe that like they got what they deserved. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. It's a hard, like I don't advocate indiscriminately killing anybody. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like maybe the Philippines, what's going on down there is a little. Maybe it's a little out of order. Maybe it's justified, but maybe he's
A little
taking it a little too
extreme,
far.
but I mean, I think they're putting a message to it. You know what I mean?
No, right. Like I don't have a problem with the whole kill your local drug dealer thing. But as far as the Brandon Steele thing goes, I think you hit on a very central nerve. Like it's unfortunate that uh people get into these situations, but they got into these situations knowing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've read extensively the report that came out about Brandon, and I've seen the fallout from the investigation that he caused. The report said that um, Reali and Talisha overdosed the day before. Um, Reali went to jail. She went to the hospital. She got out. She bailed him out. They went and found Brandon. They went and got drugs. And then they went back to the stash house or whatever you want to call it, trap house, whatever. And Brandon told them all, this is some potent shit. So, you know what I mean? Be careful. Like, it's it's really crazy when you get into that shit
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing the thing that killed the last guy. They're going to him for it.
How powerful that addiction is, dude. You know,
Nah, it
that's not
really is.
that's not the first time Talisha, like, she had incidents before, like with like overdosing and like even fucking like crashing her car, and like she was in the
Right.
hospital for a long time. You know what I mean? Like that still wasn't enough to change her. That's how powerful that shit is.
Nah, it's really crazy. And the fucked up thing in the whole Brandon situation is somebody really lost their life. So two young people who are still living are gonna go and do the sentence that he and they're both looking at is equivalent to manslaughter. It's aggravated selling of narcotics, which is equivalent to unknowingly or un yeah, you didn't intend it. Unintended killing somebody. You know what I mean? So he's looking at 30 years, but at the same time, uh, 10 years on a young man's life. I mean, he comes out totally different than he went in. You know what I mean? And it destroys again. I didn't know Steve on a personal level. I know Brandon on a personal level, so I I have a heart for Brandon,
I do
but
too.
I'm a human at the core, and what happened to Steve is absolutely unforgivable. I mean, you can't forgive two idiots taking somebody's life in the circumstances that it happened. So I mean, it's a
He had to live with
travesty.
that for the rest of his life. You know what I mean?
Right, but they all knowingly got into the situation. Brandon knowingly told these people, "Hey, this drug is really potent," and you know what I mean. They all knowingly went and did it anyway, and then you know what I mean. However, it ended. It ended in the fashion that it did, and somebody lost his life, and for that, there are consequences, man. Somebody was harmed in this sequence of events, and somebody needs to be held responsible. So I mean, and Devin McMillan says 30 years is a good drug dealer. 30 years, I believe 30 years is good for drug dealers killing someone off of their drugs. I don't. I don't. I think an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? I call me old school, call me testament. You know what I mean? As much as I love Brandon, as much as I feel for his family and all of that, like uh, uh inherited addiction or not, man, you guys knowingly made decisions as adults and
Mm-hmm.
somebody lost his life. Like if that was my brother, knowing that my brother, hung around in the same circle, like I who's to say I wouldn't feel the same as Steve's brother does? Who's
Mm-hmm.
to say I wouldn't want the same type of retribution as Steve's brother does? And
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. Let's say Brandon was the one that passed away instead of Steve. Who's to say that we wouldn't, and I say we as Brandon's family because I feel for him like that, man, but who's to say that Brandon's family wouldn't wouldn't blame Steve and Talisha
True.
in the same way. So I mean, it's a really crazy situation, and nothing is overlooked in a way that this man lost his life.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, somebody lost their life. Somebody can't go home and kiss his mother. Somebody can't go home and hug his father. Like this is beyond.
Child.
Yeah, this is beyond, man. Like you guys all knowingly got into this, and there's consequences. Guilty by association, man. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in the car and dude gets out and robs a store and gets back in the car and we drive off, guess what? Getting
Guilty.
a ride home or not, I'm guilty. So I mean, doing a bunch of drugs and somebody dies, you're just as guilty as the dude that sold you the drugs. You guys were all in the event together. So
Mm-hmm.
that whole Brandon thing is crazy, man. It really tugs in my heart. Like I said earlier, man, I feel how could you not feel for somebody who lost their brother?
Mm-hmm. I
For
do.
real.
Like, and I've been in that situation. I've seen my brother in a coma, and it made me want to fucking hurt people.
Nah, for real. Your brother's probably the most poignant one, man. I remember when I seen your brother roll around the corner in a wheelchair for the
Mm-hmm.
first time, man. Explain that shit because I seen him roll around the wheelchair and was flabbergasted. But that was one interaction, in like four or five at the time. So explain being in the situation with your brother, because that's impactful on my life. I can only imagine what it impacted on your life.
Yeah, like, and I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat anything. Like, I haven't had the best relationship with my brother. We just, I mean, like, yeah, he's my big brother, but like at the same time, we've never really seen eye to eye unless it had to do with drugs. Um, you know what I mean? Like, I went down a dark road with him, and I kind of like it destroyed like the relationship we had. Like, um, I just like I look at it now, and like I just see the type of people we were, and like it's just not cool. But like when I seen him in a coma, like that shit, like that fucking hurt, dude. Like I wanted to like find the people that he was with and fucking hurt them, and it's fucked up because the people that he was with was my older sister that died.
No, I know you don't. If you're trying to explain it to me, you don't have to go into that much detail because I personally know the detail. But if you want to, then you can. I just want you to know that I know the exact apartment that it all went down in. Like I know, I've sat at the kitchen table there. So
Mhm.
go ahead and explain it. But feel free to admit any details that you want to, any names,
Like
any all of that.
I get into like much more detail about that, but I don't. I'm not like like today's life that I live. I try not to hold resentments. Um, like I've learned to forgive that um, and go on with my life. Like, like ultimately, like that happened. It happened. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna sit here and use it as an excuse to use myself anymore. And I used that as a long time, like for a reason to do drugs, which is fucking selfish. You know what I mean? Like, and I just don't live like that anymore. But no, I totally see like your side from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like just in general. Um, like it.
Nah, for sure, man. To me, I mean, we know our history, but for anybody who doesn't, um, I'll just break it down for him real quick. Brandon was in a gang, and I don't even want to call it that. It was more or less a group of kids who called themselves a gang. Cause I was in a different one, but he was in PTS, Portland Town Soldiers,
Mhm.
and they were moving in our neighborhood in Westbrook, and we formulated a group of kids called the WCL, Westbrook City Leprechauns. We literally were making a joke of it. Like we walked around calling ourselves leprechauns because you guys called yourself soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
But we were hanging out one day, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but you pushed me off my bike, and there was an exchange of words, and I was like, "You're lucky. There's a little girl here," and we left, and then your brother, who I absolutely admired at the time and still do, he's a beloved brother of mine, but he had, I think he had already lost his leg, and seeing him roll around the corner and interacting with him in that moment, and this was just after the first time I seen him, so I hadn't seen him again, you know what I mean, after losing his leg, and I didn't know that you were his little brother, so I'm like, wait till I see you, you know what I mean, I'm gonna get you. And you went and talked to your older brother about it, and your older brother went and talked to my older brother about it. Mind you, we're like 12 and 13,
Yeah.
maybe even younger. You know what I mean? A bunch of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
But Mark come over and was like, "Yeah, you can't beat up my little boy." Not even, not even. I think you were like, "Mark Sears is my older brother," and I was like, "Ah, I can't do nothing."
Yeah.
But that's how much Mark was loved, and to have that be your brother, I can only imagine the impact that had on you, because being my brother's friend at the time, like I didn't even have the personal relationship that I have with him now
Mm-hmm.
then. So to have that be your brother who you've grown up with and have a personal relationship with, I can only imagine the impact that had on you, man. And yeah, in a way it is selfish to say I use because my brother was hurt and it affected me, but at the same time, that's a life experience. That's a traumatic experience as a kid, man. Like, who's to say the right way to react to that? Now we can say that maybe getting addicted is the same thing that made him lose his leg is not the right way, but
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely an extreme response to an extreme traumatic event, man. So I definitely feel with you, and Mark is a special man in my in my heart, man. Like he moves better with one leg than anybody I know with two legs.
True.
He's just an amazing person. He's a big, caring, lovable bear. As angry as he gets, he's just a big, cuddly bear. I fucking love Mark.
Yeah.
He's
Recently, like speaking of that, like I never thought he would reach out to me. He reached out to me and like told me like he was my number one fan and he's like proud of me for doing the stuff that I'm doing and like you know what I mean? Like that's huge for him. I never thought I would have heard that from him. So like
no, it is,
oh,
man.
pride he was giving me like gifts that like I never thought would have happened. Like you know what I mean? Maybe I am changing his life. You know what I mean? Like maybe I am making him see different shit. I don't know, but
No, you really are, man, and it translates across a large spectrum. Um, for Mark to reach out, we both know Mark. He's not a big. He is a big cuddly bear, but he's not a big reach out guy. He's not gonna call you to see how you're doing. You know what I mean? He's gonna be in a situation that reminds him of some so silly or stupid situation that you guys were in, and he's gonna call you then. But he's not gonna call you on a Tuesday to figure out, you know what I mean, what you're up to and how you're doing. So the
yeah,
fact that he reached out to you in that way speaks volumes of what you're doing, man. Your message is huge. Honestly, shout out to Harsh Med and Harsh Reality and the platform that we're on right now. But Harsh got me into podcasting, and sitting here really being turned down by people to be on a podcast to openly discuss and dialogue about different things, to to sit down and just be you, man. The greatest thing about today is, regardless of what we talked about before we came on, what kind of questions I was gonna ask you, what kind of format we had, like, you've been you. The only thing that I could ask is you come on here and be you, and the genuineness of you is the greatest thing about this. So in doing the podcast and finding the right person, man, it really takes a special person to open up and express. And in doing all of that, man, you've really been an inspiration in, first of all, getting clean, and then second of all, being open and public about what you're doing, because getting clean and staying in the background and staying out of things doesn't help inspire the next person, man. You might inspire one person, you might inspire 10. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? By the sounds of it, you've inspired your brother, who I love and hope all the best for him. So if you inspire him, what better? Well, what is better than that? So I mean, it just, hearing that Mark has reached out to you and knowing who Mark is, it's just really, again, man, it's just another testament to the power in which you have. And since we first started debating on your stupid little simple post, drug is a drug, you know what I mean? Like, since the beginning, it's all because, but my responses, at least, have all been because you have you have a reaching platform. You do touch a lot of people. You are connected to the mainstream. You're connected to whatever you want to call it
Mm-hmm.
here in the Southern Maine, the Maine network. So the fact that the fact that somebody who doesn't express themselves in any sort of fashion, in any way, reaches out and tells you that he's proud of you, he's your number one fan. I mean, that's some powerful shit to me, dude. And again, that's part of the reason why I reached out to you. I can second that. I know exactly where you were. You know what I mean? I showed up to your ex girlfriend's house with my brother coming back in the car going, "Yeah, dog, he's wrecked. He's trying to hide it from her." You know what I mean? So I know exactly what the situation is. So to see your transformation and to see the reaction you got out of people is amazing and inspiring, man. It's part of the reason why I wanted you to get you on here to spread your story, because there are a million stories like you, but yours is unique and yours is yours. So the fact that you're able to spread yours is a beautiful thing, man, because being down and getting up, as anybody's guess. You know what I mean? Anybody can get down and anybody can get up, and how they do it and why they do it and whatever. You know what I mean? It's anybody's guess. But the fact that you've done it, the fact that you can openly express and share about it, because a lot of people have done it can't talk about it. You know what I mean? So the fact that you share about it is fucking, it's one of the greatest things about it. The other thing I want to get at you about is really your feel on the whole fentanyl situation, man. Because obviously, being who you are, you've done pure heroin, you've done junk heroin, you've done fake heroin. Uh, I remember seeing, I won't say who, but I remember seeing the person that I watched shoot up heroin for almost a year. I seen him shoot up junk heroin, and he was like, he bought a bun. What is a bun?
It's like I don't even know, dude. It's like I don't even know, like $60 worth.
Right. So he bought a bun. And he shot half a bun, and he was like, "Ah, I'm not feeling nothing." Like 20 minutes later, he shot the other bun, the other, you know what I mean, the remaining portion, and he was like, "Ah, it's fucking junk." Now, his reaction was, fuck, I got ripped off. I gotta find some real shit.
Mm-hmm.
My reaction was, what the fuck did you just shoot into your arm? And he was like, I don't even give a fuck right now. You know what I mean? So the mind state is crazy, and being in that mind state is crazy. What is the difference? Because I'm not sure what his drug in the needle was now, and I don't know what the, like they say that fentanyl is like having 100,000 times the dosage of heroin. If you've got a kilo of heroin, it's like having, you know what I mean, 100 kilos or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, it's crazy, a cumulative effect to heroin. So, like, what is the difference between a uh, obviously junk heroin is getting ripped off, but I can only imagine what that feels like. But what's the difference between like heroin, shitty heroin, and like fentanyl? Because there's got to be a distinct difference. You got to be able
Yeah.
to tell the difference.
Like when I first started using, like I was getting like pure heroin, um, and like the legs of it would last a lot longer. Like between like I don't know, I could do a shot and it would last all fucking like pretty much all day, good like 8 hours sometimes. Um, and I'd just be like nodding off or just be super high. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. Now, like the newer school heroin, um, fentanyl, yeah, it's significantly stronger than regular heroin. It's made it's a tranquilizer for like elephants and fucking big ass animals, shit like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's predominantly a
yeah, horse
tranquilizer, but
tranquilizer.
I
Our
imagine it.
fentanyl can put out an
Yeah,
elephant.
right. I know. I imagine a higher dose, it could put out whatever you wanted.
um, so life of that lasts about like for me and multiple other people probably about maybe 2 hours, and then you're wanting it more and more and more. It's very strong, and you get really high, and but there's no like lifespan to it, if that makes sense. Now junk heroin,
Right.
you said it yourself, it's you don't feel anything. There's no rush to it. You don't feel anything. That's the only way I can really explain that. But I mean, you can really that's just basically the lifespan of it, I guess you could say. Um, and I mean, the initial rush is how you know it's like really good stuff.
Yeah, no, I've been explained to that before, so it definitely fits the narrative. I just like the clarification for people that
Mm-hmm.
don't really know. The other thing that really interests me, again, in dealing with the person that shot up in front of me every day. Now, a lot of these questions that I'm gonna come across with, a lot of insights I'm gonna try to get out of you, are based on what I've seen with this one person.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were times where we would sit there and he would tell me things that he tasted when he shot up. Like, what is the sensate? How how could you articulate? I couldn't even begin to describe how you taste something you shoot up.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you articulate? I don't know how you do that, but how could you articulate how you taste the different things that you shoot up? Because the one thing that he explained to me was how he tasted good coke versus bad coke when he booted it up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how do you
Almost,
tell? Can you tell bad heroin versus good heroin? How does that work?
Coke, I've done fucking heroin. I've done all, and I'm not bragging about that. It's fucking whatever. That's just part of being an addict.
No, for
But
sure.
like I shot up like coke. Um, it's almost like a. I just don't know. I mean, it's like almost like jet fuel. Oh, I. That's the only thing I could like. It almost smells like it tastes. I guess you could say almost like. I remember. I know you remember as like a kid, like painting cars or whatever, like those model
Yeah.
cars. Almost
Right.
smells like car model paint.
I've got car model paint. Just a side note. I don't mean to interrupt, but I got car model paint in my ankle when I was doing tattoos for the kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's kind
I
of like
know exactly what it smells like.
now like good heroin has like a good like a not a good smells like
Enticing. I get what you mean.
it's like vinegary smell, I guess you could say.
Interesting.
Tastes like like if you're snorting it, it tastes like shit, dude. Like that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I've shot up Suboxone too, and and like the reason for that is because I did not like the taste of it. Now, little did I know, shooting it up, I could taste it exactly the same.
That's interesting. What is the taste difference versus snorting and shooting? Is it more intense? Do you taste
What shooting
different
heroin,
things?
it's not as intense as sniffing it. But when you're shooting like Suboxone or something like that, like I thought like you could still taste the orange taste. Like it was absolutely disgusting. It's almost like the same. Um, Shooting coke and all that stuff. Like yeah, like you could taste it. Um, as far as like shooting dope though, like the only thing that like I could really explain is you get like this really really warm sensation and like goes up your entire back and like you just get fuzzy headed and like I don't. That's like the only real way I can explain it. And I don't really remember there being any taste with it when I shot it up.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, like we've said multiple times, different things happen to different people.
Mm-hmm.
Three different people get different effects. So
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely it's definitely something that's intrigued me, man. Ever since he told me he could taste
Mm-hmm.
the difference in the quality, I was like, huh?
Yeah,
What?
you're sniffing it
So
and like you. I don't know. Like you can definitely when you're sniffing heroin, like you can definitely tell the difference between bad heroin and good heroin.
that's crazy. But it's not irrational because when you smell marijuana, something that I can relate to, you know what I mean? I for the record, I'll put it out there straight up. Like I've done shrooms, I've done marijuana, I've drank a lot of alcohol. I really haven't done too many crazy drugs. I've done cocaine, you know, powder cocaine. I stayed away from the heroin completely, but I stayed away from the meth. But even weed is is really an aroma fragrance type of drug. Like
Mm-hmm.
better smelling marijuana, you
More pungent.
presume, right? You presume is going to be more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and when you, personally, I've smoked a lot of blunts in my day. It takes away from the taste. So when you smoke marijuana in a joint and a paper, there's a certain taste to a certain bud. There's a certain taste to a certain liquor. It would make sense that there's a certain taste to a certain heroin.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain smell,
True.
certain heroin. So it's definitely. I mean, it's intriguing. It's crazy. It's mind blowing to someone like me who's never done it. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same sense, it's not out of the realm of reality. I mean, look at all the rest of the drugs, and it kind of falls into to the same spectrum. So it's just really crazy, man. I never when he because I'll be dead honest with you, man. Like we worked together for months on end, and I would roll a blunt, and we would take a break. I mean, I don't want to say the job that we were doing because it's a really prominent place, but we would take a break whenever we wanted. There was no boss. I was an employee for the company that we were working for, and I was the highest level of in charge on the job site.
Mm-hmm.
So dude would be like, "Yo, I gotta go get my fix." I would be like, "All right, I'm gonna go smoke a blunt."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And watching him was one of the craziest experiences in my life because I would literally watch him anywhere. Dude, there wasn't a place where he wouldn't. We would be Casco Bay lines. We would be at work,
This is
right outside in the parking lot.
what he walked out, but
There would be anywhere he would shoot up, and I would watch him, and I would literally watch a person in descent, but it would be like
a different person.
it was a totally different person, but it was like watching your 19 or watching your 2015 Maserati turn into like a 96 Corolla, still thinking he was better than you know what I mean? Thinking he was the greatest in the world. We were painting. That's what I do. That's what you know what I mean? I own my own company, Listed and Sons now. But at the time, we were working for somebody else, and he thought he was the greatest painter in the world. Now, we got away with the paint job, and it worked and all that. But he's not on drugs, and I've worked with him both getting high every day and not getting high at all. 1,000 times better painter not getting high at all than he was getting high every day, but he thought he was just as good. You know what I mean? So it's like the parallel reality, along with like watching somebody again, somebody that you care about, somebody that you're concerned about, genuinely concerned about, turn into a absolute degenerate, worst kind of person in the world, and it'd be all over 5 seconds. The time that it took him to prepare the heroin, get it in the needle, and boot up his arm was literally a minute. You know what I mean? Like he was such a pro at it. It was a minute. It was really mind boggling to me. But it's a fascinating thing, man, to watch it happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts, man. Can you explain the mindset behind just doing it, just being able to just getting it when you get it? Because I was in the dude, I swear to God, I was in the car from fiending to finding out a source to acquiring the substance to injecting the substance to going back to work thinking he was Superman. So, can you explain the thought process behind thinking the the substance there is gonna enhance you, man? Because it was literally like a I can't work without it. What is that? What is that mind state, man? Like it's mind boggling to be in the car with a guy who's like, I gotta go get high, and then boot it up and think he's 1,000 times better than he was without it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like it gives you a false sense of reality. Um, like for instance, me, like I told you before, like I thought I was on top of the world every time I did it. Like I thought I was fucking the best at everything. Um, and like I don't know. I don't know if you like see like obviously it affects the way everything is, but like you feel super happy. Like I don't know, when you're in that, like when you're in the grips of it, like it's like the best feeling in the world. You literally feel like you can do anything. But like as far as like preparing it and all that stuff goes, like that was like a big piece of it for me. Like it was almost like a ritual style type thing. Like I just liked doing it. You know what I mean? Like I would go out from like my stomach cramping to like sweating, and then like as soon as I got it in the needle, like it was like almost like everything went away. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, no, I listen. Like I said, watching it many times, like I observe the process, but it's just the mind state behind it. I mean, it's really it to me. It's mind boggling, man. Like I've watched him.
Insanity.
Yeah, no, it really is. I watched him so many times where it was like, you know what you're doing, you know how this affects everybody. Like, why are you still doing it? And then for me to be in that mind state and then have him on the other side literally look at me and be like, this is the weirdest situation I've ever been in. Having somebody watch me do it and not once ask me to try it. You know what I mean? Because I literally watch this guy every day for, dude, it had to have been like 3 or 4 months. Fortunately, I caught him at the tail end of his serious hard using. Unfortunately, he's had small relapses, and it's a battle. I praise anybody that's going through the battle, and I pray for anybody that's going through the battle because it's not a this time is the time. You know what I mean? It's an ongoing battle. Like you said, you're not done today with your battle, and a
Yeah,
testament
I,
to that.
like for me, like I can't promise that like I'm not gonna use ever again, like because I don't know. You know what I mean? I could promise that I'm not gonna use today, but I don't promise to ever use again because that's how strong it is, dude.
No, for real, and that's an honest, like, hold me accountable for my actions type of response. My grandfather, the only guy that I could ever call my grandfather, it's my stepmother's father. You know what I mean? He's my grandfather. He's the only thing I've ever had close to a grandfather. But I got in his truck one day going to work. He picked me up for work, bringing me to work, and there was a book on the seat that I moved, and he initially felt kind of embarrassed by the book because it was an Alcoholics Anonymous book. Me being me, I was like, "Hey, man, like whenever you need to read a chapter, read a chapter." Like I've got nothing against it, but it's even alcohol, something that we socially accept, something that, you know what I mean, is culturally a norm. Even that has a grip on a human being until the end of their life. Like that's not a there is no end to that battle of alcoholism. So I definitely commend you in your fight, brother. I'm definitely with you, supporting you in your fight. I definitely want to advocate whatever you're advocating, you know what I mean, in your recovery and all of that. So it definitely hits home for me, man. Like it's a real thing. And getting back to you, man, like it just seeing you do what you do, seeing you in your professional life with your new and invigorated conquest and your new artist and all of that, man. Like it's so great. You're doing so much positive, man. Like it really is great, man. Like I feel like such a dick rider telling you how great you're doing, but it's seeing you at your worst and seeing you now, man. Like I can't tell you anything other than reality, man.
That means a
You're
lot,
doing
man.
great. Nah, and it I I appreciate your I appreciate that, but it's all you, brother. You're doing this. The fact that your brother reaches out to you, the fact that you know what I mean, you got people from Chicago and California and Miami and all these different places reaching out to you, like it's a testament to what you can do when you put your mind straight, man. Like it's such a travesty to see so many people dying a day when it's mental fortitude. How strong are you mentally? You know what I mean? Like what is your what is your feeling on if drugs got not legalized but decriminalized? You know what I mean? Like if we could do drugs at whatever rate we wanted, as long as they weren't affecting anybody, like what like Portugal or whoever you think is doing it, like what is your perspective on that type of impact of society,
I mean,
social impact?
it's never happened, so like I can't really speak for something that hasn't happened. But I honestly like, to me, I think that is such a, people don't need to live like that. You know what I mean? Like it's it first off, it spreads diseases. Um, you would see, yeah, people want more stuff when stuff is like illegal, like kind of like the fucking, sorry about that, when they banned alcohol or and all that stuff. Like it just made people want it more. But you're gonna see a lot more deaths. Like it's just, you're gonna see families getting ripped apart. Like it's just, I'm not one for that. I don't agree with it. But that's just me. You know what I mean?
No, right. Hey, and all I'm trying to do is get one man's perspective, man. Like if I wanted to sit here and preach, you know, my philosophy or my ideology, I could nab up whatever airtime I wanted. What I'm trying to do is get a variety of perspectives. So I definitely I definitely respect your view, man. Cause it's it's a social issue. It's much more um it's much more than a monetary issue. It's much more than a family issue. It's much more than an individual issue. Each person getting clean. Like the you getting high impacted much more the community than just yourself. You know what I mean? So it's a wide spreading epidemic, and um the fact that it comes from a legal source. Like, what has the fentanyl aspect added to the drug game? Because you were there when it was. I mean, I don't want to say it was all Afghani heroin. You know what I mean? Because the Mexican cartels have definitely stepped into the heroin game. But the the way that the drug game, it certainly, well, you've been in it because we were kids when the war started and we took seizure of the poppy fields in Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
to now where it's a large quantity of legalized fentanyl, carfentanil, whether it be American or China made. Like
Mm-hmm.
what is what is the shift in the drug game? Where has, like, obviously more deaths have come in it, but like where has the mentality behind it shifted? Like it's got to be more cutthroat, a
Yeah.
lot more deaths, a lot more people wanting the drugs from where the guy died. It's got to be a lot of cutthroat clientele.
Well, like I said, it's the power of the addiction, dude. Like, you know what I mean? You're always seeking more. So like, I don't know. For me, like, I wanted something stronger all the time. So like, if I didn't have fentanyl, like, I didn't want it. You know what I mean? And like I said, the lifespan of the lifespan of it was just never enough. Like it was only about 2 hours, and then I was feeding out for more. So and I think that has something to do with it too. Like, um, there's more money in it. You know what I mean? Um,
No, right, but I think you hit on something there. Like you you consciously chose to not accept fentanyl versus what you thought might be heroin.
yeah, like there was times where like people would be like, oh, like I mean, if it was dope, it was dope. It was whatever. But like there's a point in my active addiction that like I would seek out fentanyl opposed to like fucking like oxys or even just regular heroin.
Nah, right, and that's so. Again, I don't want to say mind-boggling, but again, it's just so interesting to me to the effect that knowing it kills, knowing it's so much more potent. Like, where is your mind at? Thinking not necessarily, and I'm not saying that you were like that killed so and so, so I gotta have that. But like somebody says, watch out for this shit. It might be known to kill, and you guys are like, that's the fucking shit that I want.
Yeah,
Like, where does that play into it? Because that's a pretty crazy mindset to be in, just as an addict.
if I mean like that's how you know it's good shit. You know what I mean? Like that was my mentality of it. Like okay, like this person died from it. I just won't do as much as they did. You know what I mean? Like, but then you never know how much to do. Like for me, like I literally like last time I overdosed and I was in a fucking coma. I literally did something smaller than like my pinky fingernail. Like 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 maybe like a half a pea size. Fuck, it was crazy, dude.
No, I get it now. How do you? I again, dude, this is coming from somebody who, man, listen, man, the most I've ever done is fucking snorted a little bit of cocaine, and when I snorted it, I fell asleep like I don't know, fuck 45 minutes, like an hour later. You know what I mean? Like it didn't leave me up and strung out and all that other shit that you hear. So again, maybe I'm a different animal. Maybe I don't have an addictive personality like you've articulated that you have.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the mindset? Where are you like, dude died, I gotta have that. You know what I mean? Like I get the dude that's the best weed I've ever smoked. You know what I mean? Like I get that. And I get the dude that weed makes you want to do nothing. But never once have I been like, that guy died from a motorcycle jump. Maybe I should try the motorcycle jump.
I mean, I don't honestly like. There's no like definitive answer for that. Like, I just all I know is that like you could sit there and tell me like, look, like this isn't like this is gonna like be careful with this, and I would be like, fuck you, dude. Like I'm gonna go all out with that shit.
Right.
It, you know what I mean? It's just like the nature of it. I like I said, like it was such a powerful thing to me. Like I didn't care if I died.
Nah, I feel you, man. I think for me personally, one of the craziest documentaries I've ever seen was it must have been a movement. It was a whole group of people, but like they went to Southeast Asia when the poppies
American Gangster?
flowered, and they would cut the poppy straight from the shit, and they would get high straight from the poppy seed. You know what I mean? And like that's a whole movement. So I get the human aspect to it. You know what I mean? Like I get the euphoric. it's just, again, to me, man, it's just so interesting being in the depths of it, and knowing where it leads, and still doing it again, bringing it back to like our family and shit, man. I had a brother. I watched him literally descend into. Dude, it literally got to the point where we would be like, I'd sit in the room with him, we'd be smoking a blunt, and he'd be like, all right, you want to leave the room for a minute? And it was unspoken. He would say, you want to leave the room for a minute, and it wasn't like a, what do I got to leave the room for a minute for? I knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? So I I feel a level of complacency, but at the same time, it's like, how, man, it's where do you feel comfortable doing it at that rate, man? Like, you just ask your brother to leave the room so that you can do what you got to do.
Um, like for me, like I didn't care. Like I said, I would rob my family. Like I would do whatever it took. Like I didn't care who I did it in front of. Like I was just getting my fix. Like that's that's like the sickness of it, dude. Like it didn't matter whose feelings I hurt. Like it didn't matter like how disgusting I looked. You know what I mean? Like I just did it because like at that time I thought I was gonna fucking. You feel like you're gonna die without it. Like it's that like you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't concentrate, like you can't sit still, like you get really irritated, like it's just it's it's terrible.
Nah, yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, on a human level, I watched my brother. I watched my brother suffer through some shit that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. So, I mean, just the grip that the substance has on a person's mental state, on a person's physical state, is it's a travesty, man. I don't think first of all, the difference between opium as the plant, as the pain killing plant, is completely different than methadone or heroin or fentanyl. You know what I mean? The chemical properties, albeit they're in the same family, they're different, man. Yeah, getting the white sap out of the opium plant is different than getting a bundle of heroin powder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all the same effects. I mean, they're all derived from the same place. So with that, like, I just wanna pick your brain a little bit into like what your perspective on the right policing of the drug might be, because as we've got into, it is a drug that is devastating and demonic on society. It's fucking, it wreaks havoc. But at the same time, the people that are suffering from it, albeit a disease or a choice, are human beings who need real compassion and care. So like, what what would be, again, from your educated standpoint, what would be a proper way to police the current situation, whether you're talking from Maine or nationally? I know you can only talk from your personal experience, but like, what is a decent, humane way to deal with the policing of A, addicts, and B, dealers? Like, first I want to rehabilitate and take care of the people who are suffering from, like you said, the disease or the affliction of the substance, and then I want to take care of and police the people who are purely monetarily gaining in a cynical, demonic fashion. You know what I mean? Like a drug dealer is not a good person in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So like, what is the proper way to deal with A and B? I know all night has been loaded questions,
Mm-hmm.
but what is a good policing A technique, B fashion? What, you know what I mean? Like what is a good way to police this situation for drug dealers and addicts?
I mean, for users, I mean, and like, I'm still on the fence about it, but like, I've looked at like statistic wise and like where it's worked and everything. Like safe injection sites. Um, like there's part of me that wants to think it will do good, but there's other parts of me that like I don't agree with it, but just because like it's a fucking illegal game. So it's kind of like people they're okay to use it, but at the same time it prevents like it like decreases disease, like it helps with death related like overdose like overdose related deaths, like it helps like a whole bunch of different shit. More jobs for the society, but like overall, like I just like I don't. I personally, I don't have like an answer for it. Like until like there's something that actually works. But like I mean, those implements in like other countries and like stuff like that have been proven to work. Um, do I know if it's gonna work here? I don't know. I've never been to a safe injection site. I don't even know what it looks like. Um, like I said, I'm on the fence about it. And I don't know how. I don't really know the way of stopping like the drug dealers. You know what I mean? Like, it just like I said, they like you arrest one of them, it's just they're gonna they're gonna get replaced. Um, so I think like there needs to be more education. There needs to be more recovery centers. Like there needs to be um, just like more knowledge put out there about it. I mean, I don't know, like yeah, like for instance, like Dare when I was in school, like that never really helped because you're hearing it from a police officer. You're not actually hearing it from someone that struggles with it. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, that's kind of like where I'm at with it. But
No, it all is relevant, dude. I definitely understand where you're coming from. I guess to clarify my question, it would be um not that you're against, but you don't favor decriminalization or legalization. So at what extent is there proper what extent is the proper way to police it? You know what I mean? Like if we're not if we're not gonna if we're not gonna decriminalize it and see how that goes, what extent do we persecute and police the situation? Is there a is there an extreme one way or is there an extreme another? Because in the middle where we're at, classifying some drugs as this and classifying some drugs as that, it seems to not be working so well. So would we benefit from going A extreme one way or B extreme the other way? A being decriminalized, B being over policing and regulating.
um, man, I don't know, dude. I don't
Right.
like it's such like a such like a weird topic. Like I mean, like there's so many different like I'm on the fence about like a lot of different things about it. Like over policing, like I don't think we should be arresting addicts for using for using drugs. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that might help some people, but like the majority of people, that's not going to help them. I feel like they need like resources to actually help them overcome that addiction, but ultimately, like they have to want it themselves. Um, and it's, but like, but like letting them get away with it, like it just that doesn't like decriminalizing it. That's just like that. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't know. I don't think over policing it is like the issue. Like I believe like a drug dealer, like I said, like if he sells something to someone and they find out that he sold it to him and they fucking overdose, like I feel like whatever fucking penalty he gets, like he deserves.
No, I agree. And I'm certainly not for the um abuse of drugs. Now I don't know exactly how you'd classify it, but I am for things like shrooms. Like I think shrooms is a religious um drug. Now, do the Christians use it? No, but it was a Hindu religious drug, which is why cows are sacred. You know what I mean? Like there's certain drugs for certain avenues which I think we can benefit from. LSD, some of the most renowned scientists, Nobel Prize winning scientists used LSD when it was legal in the 60s to solve scientific problems that nobody else could solve. So I mean, I definitely think that there's a use for drugs, and I advocate mind expanding drugs in a controlled, safe setting. I don't advocate abusing drugs in any way. That includes sugar. Like what constitutes a drug? Like you said, you try to stay away from as much sugar as you can. I think what sugar is one of the most abused and deadly drugs in America. So it's just it's you know what I mean? It's that fine line between what is a drug, what isn't a drug, what's over policing, what isn't over policing, what is too lenient with a drug. But what is your what is your personal belief on the medical field of drugs? Like is there is there an area where we should be creating this is let me clarify it. Uh, I believe in holistic medicines, herbs, different things like that. Like, what is your value on the pharmaceutical side? Because I don't value the pharmaceutical side at all.
I
Like
don't,
creating chemical compounds is absurd to me.
yeah, no, I don't agree with that. Um, I just feel like it creates more problems. Like I mean, you see it on TV all the time. Um, like you'll get like I don't even fucking know. You get like this depression medicine prescribed to you, and it causes fucking gynecomastia, like man tits, and all that. Like that's fucked up, dude. Like you know what I mean? Um, so I believe in like the holistic style of medicine, but I don't agree with like the pharmaceutical side. I think it's fucked up. I don't even really take Tylenol. So
Nah, I agree. My only thing there is like the debate the debate you sparked the other day with the drug is a drug. Um, again, it's a really simple concept, but at the same time, you had people debating what was a good drug, what was a good drug. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily want to debate what's a good drug or what's a bad drug. But what I want to get into with you is what is the social construct of a drug? Like, why do we call drugs drugs instead of um something else, man, because like the only personal belief, agree to disagree, the only thing I call a drug is a chemical compound created in a lab, down to an opium plant. If we get the sap out of an opium plant, out of a poppy, we scar it, we get the opium. Like, to me, that's not a drug. That's a medicine. That's different. That has medical properties. Like, you're not gonna. I, I've seen plenty of documentaries where guys go in there, they do a bunch of opium straight from the plant, and they don't OD. You know what I mean? They can do a bunch of it, a lot more than a gram or anything else of like heroin or methadone or anything, and they don't OD. Now, that's not saying there isn't a limit that they will OD, because there's a medical limit for marijuana where you're OD. It's just how possible is that limit. I think opium is a drug, is a medicine. I think shrooms is a medicine. I think oxycodone is a drug. I think LSD is a drug. You know what I mean? But at the same time, your brain creates MDMA every time when you go to sleep. So how sober are we? With that, what would you what would you constitute a drug? Do you stop it at pharmaceuticals, or do you think everything down to like um I don't know, fucking any tobacco? I mean, sugar. Like what? How far do you constitute a drug?
I consider it like any mind altering substance, I guess you could say. So that includes like you can have with like withdrawal symptoms from caffeine, like I would constitute it anywhere from like tobacco to caffeine. Um, like I know people like disagree with like the whole marijuana side, but like I've seen people like literally fiend out for it, and literally like not pay their light bills because they would rather have a bag of weed. So I mean that's kind of an issue. Um, am I saying it's like an issue for everyone? No. Like I'm totally an advocate for like whatever. Like it helps people with cancer, helps people with like eating disorders and everything else. So yeah, like I'm not saying all drugs are bad, but it's to me it's classified as a drug.
No, yeah. Hey, I can accept that, man. I personally, to me, honestly, like if you don't pay your light bill because of weed, then you weren't gonna pay your light bill in the first place. It's
Yeah,
not weed that didn't make you pay your light bill. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like you're a lazy, irresponsible prick to begin with. The
yeah,
weed is just your excuse to be a lazy, irresponsible prick. But
yeah,
I totally get it, man, because it does have that effect, man. You smoke a joint, you don't want to go mow the lawn, you don't want to, you know what I mean. So it definitely has its effects. I just for me, man, I don't agree with the classification of marijuana, particularly as a Schedule One. I think there's a huge amount of medical benefits to it. LSD, I think there's medical benefits to it as far as like I don't know how much you've studied the drug, but LSD relieves massive headaches and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like the the effect that it has on the brain relieves irreversible headaches. So I definitely think there's a medical aspect to all drugs. It's just whether you abuse them or you respect them, man.
mm, I agree.
Nah, it's been real, man. It's well after midnight, 12:30. We've had a long discussion about drugs, man, and I appreciate everything, man. I don't feel like you've been anything but open and honest and yourself. Like
Mm,
I don't feel like I've gotten some shill of Brandon McPhail. I've
yeah,
gotten Brandon McPhail, so I appreciate everything, brother.
Yeah, man.
Your view and your input is much respected, man. I just want to put out there I have a gubernatorial candidate
Hmm.
interview coming up. I think it's gonna be Friday.
Okay.
But for all the people out there, if you've got any questions, if you've got anything that you would want to ask a Maine candidate, go ahead, shoot a question in the comments or at me personally. And you personally, Brandon, like come up with like 10 questions. Come up with like you know what I mean? Something that really is important to you because LePage has fucked up this drug epidemic that's going on, and he's fucked up other things for Mainers. So the next candidate has got to build on the good shit that LePage has done and build up the bad shit that he's done. So
Okay.
I respect your input. You know what I mean. I definitely want to know. You know what I mean. The pulse of where we're at in Maine, because he's a third party candidate. He's not Sean Moody, and he's not Janet Mills. He's not your Democrat. He's not your Republican. He's a third party. His name is Adam, not Adam, Aaron Chadbourne.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a more conservative Republican guy, but I definitely would like to get a why. I definitely have my own. I've got a whole list of shit that I want to ask him, just like I got a whole, you know what I mean, list of things to ask you. I'm definitely well prepared for my podcast, but just to have a base of the people that are around, man, because you're a knowledgeable Maine voter who's again in touch with the pulse of Maine. So if you've got any questions or concerns, I definitely would appreciate those. And anybody else from Maine who's watching, you know what I mean? Any concerns or anything like that. So nah, man, it's been real. Anything else you want to add, man? This has been awesome.
Not really, man. I mean, the message is hope. Um, that's all I'm getting from this. And um, anyone out there struggling, man, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's first. That's the first step, man.
No, that's huge. The other thing I wanted you to get out there is ways to outlets, contacts for people who are struggling. You know what I mean? To reach out either A to you or B to the organizations you work with. A here in Maine, you know what I mean? But like a national hotline, I don't know if you got those on hand or anything like that. I'll try to look them up. But like anything that anybody can reach out and get in contact for help with, like
Yeah.
just anything like that.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, I went to Milestone Recovery, Milestone Foundation in Portland on India Street. That is a detox center. And from there, I went to rehab. And this is it's a program where you get like if you don't have like insurance or anything like that, they'll help you out. It's called Operation Hope. Um, Scarborough at the police station. So if you do have any type of like warrants or anything like that, don't go there because they will put you in cuffs. Um, but it is a very good resource. It's safe. Um, and finally, there's a bunch of different places around here that will help you out. One of them being like Amistad or even just like the Preble Street area. I mean, it's kind of a bad area, but like if you're to give back to the community, whatever, that's a good place.
Nah, for sure, man. I just posted a link for the suicide prevention hotline. I don't think there are any drug help national hotlines.
Yeah, like the national, like the crisis hotline or something.
Right. So if you call the suicide hotline, I'm sure you'll be able to get your adequate help. But
Yeah.
Nah, it's a great message, man. I really have enjoyed this podcast, and I really enjoy seeing your positive message each morning, man. It's really it's really something. Like I said earlier, it's really something to see somebody you grew up with, you know, you care about, change your life around and do good, and really try to affect the community in a good way, man. It's inspiring, and it's really uplifting, man. I appreciate all you're doing for the community I live in and the community you live in, and you're an inspiration, man. And keep doing what you're doing, brother.
All right, man. Good looks.
Nah, have a good night, man. I appreciate the interview.
All right, man. You have yourself a good night.
Have a good night, brother.
All right.
And we're out. For all of you who viewed and joined, I appreciate it. Just a last word of encouragement, of encouragement, man. Get out there, a volunteer in your community, b be open and honest about what is going on around you in your life, to you. It doesn't have to be drugs. It can be anything. Just be open, be real, be honest, and be you. Be you. Nobody is asking for a false, fake image of anybody. We just want the real and honest, open you. That's it. So with that, let's go with a quote from our man Marcus Aurelius. Um, your soul is dyed by the color of your thoughts. You are what you think. You are who you be around. So that's very much important. Be who you are. Be around who you want to be. Uh, breathe, eat, sleep, success. Have a good night, y'all. It's been a real and enlightening conversation. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Harsh. And we're out.